seed versus our number 3 seed. Both of these players had to defeat 328 players, or be at the top 8 of the 328 player field to get into this. Shardless Bug, a deck that has a lot of tools to fight against this, but we'll have to see what happens. Michael Burnett was the opponent vanquished by Cam Adkins. William Jensen, on the other hand, he ended up defeating Evan West.
Our other matchup, of course, Brad Nelson versus Brian Ronduin. Brad, had a very, very successful year a few years ago. In 2010, he was Grand Prix DC champion. He ended up being Player of the Year. And since then, he's not had as a successful year as he did in 2010, but he is on a tear lately, it seems like. Maybe not the kind of tear that BBD is planning to put together here, though.
You can see Glenn Jones, our coverage reporter, giving us some other coverage. You can see the text coverage for our event online at the Star City Games website, so make sure you're checking that out as well. Get all the information you can. Check out our text coverage. Make sure to watch us the entire time that we're broadcasting, and also the Twitter, #SCGINVI.
So looking at the matchup from the quarterfinals, Huey's matchup was Sneak and Show versus Shardless Bug, and he dispatched it in, was it just 3-0, I believe?
I have that is a 3 to 1.
3 to 1. Yeah. 3 games to 1. So Huey has already dealt with Shardless Bug here in this top 8, so he's got to feel pretty good about the matchup, especially considering he just took care of an opponent playing the same deck. And it looks like we're underway. Huey leads off with a Volcanic Island. Misty Rainforest is the play from Cam. He's going to immediately crack it. Looks like he's going to find an Underground Sea. And are we going to see a turn 1 discard spell from Cam? Turn 1 Thoughtseize, very likely at this point. Could also be a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
One of the differences between Cam Adkins' list and his the other Shardless Bug player, Evan West, Cam Adkins has access to Surgical Extraction, which can be very effective in conjunction with the discard in breaking up combos. So maybe we'll see that come into play in games, in the sideboarded games.
So Thoughtseize was the play, but Huey has a Spell Pierce for it. So Thoughtseize gets a Spell Pierce, but does not get the information from Huey's hand. Brainstorm from Huey. This is a main phase Brainstorm. Has not yet played a land for the turn. His hand appears to have a Ponder. Well, he's got a Scalding Tarn. It looks like a Ponder. Potentially a Sneak Attack there. A couple of Lotus Petals. An Ancient Tomb. And it looks like a Misdirection also in Huey's hand there. He's got a couple of lands. Looks like a couple of Scalding Tarns. Ancient Tomb, 2 Lotus Petal, what I believe to be Ponder, Misdirection, and then Sneak Attack. He's going to put the 2 Scalding Tarns back, and he's going to go ahead and play an Ancient Tomb here on turn 2. He's going to play a Lotus Petal. That resolves. He's going to play a second copy of Lotus Petal. That resolves. He immediately goes for a Sneak Attack, and it resolves.
Wow.
So Sneak Attack is in play. Now the scary thing for Cam is how soon is he going to be facing an enormous threat?
Brainstorm. Cam trying to get something together. A little bit of defenses of some sort. Brainstorm, you can see his hand. He's got some Abrupt Decays. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
And yeah, Cam, he's sort of under the gun. Now from Cam's perspective, he has not seen Huey's hand, so he doesn't know if an Emrakul or a Gristlebrand are about to hit the board. Now we know Huey doesn't actually have a threat incoming. There's nothing in hand. The top 2 cards of his library were Scalding Tarn, which he just drew for his turn. Now he can, of course, play and crack that and make a mystery card as the top card. He can actually play it, maybe cast a Ponder pre or post cracking the fetch, depending on how he, maybe what he sees here. He's going to Ponder first.
1, 2, 3. Was that a Gristlebrand?
It is
nope.
not. It is a Lotus Petal, a Scalding Tarn, and a Sneak Attack, and Huey's going to shuffle. He's going to get a mystery card here.
Huey wants more than anything else. I think Gristlebrand the best draw right now. One of the things that this deck does a really good job of impersonating is it impersonates the 2000-2001 era deck tricks, which would lay a Necropotence, use a Force of Will to protect that from to get into play, then draw a ton of cards to protect it again to finish off the game on the next turn.
Yeah, that kind of mimicked here by Gristlebrand when he hits the board. Off the top is a Spell Pierce, so not the card Huey was looking for. He's going to play a Scalding Tarn here and pass the turn, so no threat incoming. And at this point, Cam has to know Huey's looking for a threat.
We see a fetch land. Cam has another card on top that he doesn't want. He's going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
We see 3 dual lands now. 3 counters suspended. 3 for the Ancestral Visions.
Yes, the Ancestral Visions was suspended last turn and will slowly tick down. Let's see if Huey can win the game before the Ancestral Vision refills Cam's hand. It's always possible. Or if Cam is going to be able to get some cards and put up more of a defense. It's kind of all up to Huey's top decks at this point.
Yep, we see a Deathrite Shaman. And is that a double suspend of Ancestral Visions?
Double suspend, yes. So now Cam is going to be drawing a ton of cards in a few turns if he's still in the game.
And Huey actually replaces the double counter that Cam was going to use for both of them with a single counter. Brainstorm, will this find it? 3 card choices here, 3 more chances. There it is.
Yep, and he finds Emrakul, Sneak Attack, Island.
Remember, that's not enough to just win the game, though. It will nuke Cam Adkins' side of the board and knock Cam Adkins down to 3 life, but it won't kill him.
So Huey puts a couple back, immediately cracks the Scalding Tarn to refresh the top of his library and shuffle away the cards he put back. Finds a Volcanic Island. And things are looking pretty good for Huey here. We'll see how things go. His opponent is currently tapped out. That Deathrite Shaman is summoning sick. And an Emrakul off a Sneak Attack is the play. Cam Adkins has to sacrifice all of his permanents, including his lands. It's going to take 15 from the Emrakul, falling to 3. And Cam Adkins basically completely reset. The good news for Cam is, well, he's not dead, and he's got 3 copies of Ancestral Visions waiting in the wings.
I'm not dead yet.
I'll bite your legs off.
it does kind of feel like that's where Cam Adkins is sitting.
Yeah. And that's not even a reference to Huey's height.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Joey Pasco. And you can see Cam Adkins, no permanents, but he does have 3 suspended Ancestral Visions at 2, 3, and 3 respectively. And he's hoping, a pass. He needed to get running land here. And there's the Gristlebrand to finish things off.
Yep, Sneak
Boom.
Attack into Gristlebrand, hit you, and that's game 1. Huey Jensen 1 game up versus Cam Adkins. Shardless Bug falling to Sneak and Show in this first game of 5 in the semifinals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational.
Wow, so we're going to have another winner, though. We had our first win so far in this top 4, and that was William Jensen defeating Cam Adkins in the first game of this best-of-5 match. But we're going to have another winner out there as well with our StarCityGames.com premium giveaway. And the way this works is actually pretty simple. We're going to ask a trivia question. We do this every round that we do these top 8s. We did it for all 3 rounds of the Standard. We're going to do it for all 3 rounds of the Invitational. And we'll do it for all 3 rounds of the Legacy. In the quarterfinals, we give away 3 months.
That's right.
We're in the semis now. We give away 6 free months of Star City Games Premium. And in the finals, we give away a full year. What you have to do, someone will ask a trivia question. You answer it correctly and use the hashtag SCG Premium. You can see right there below.
Right down under SCG Live.
It doesn't matter if you put anything else in there. We just want the correct answer and hashtag SCG Premium. You have the trivia question. What is it?
So this is a pretty simple one. I want to give you guys a really good chance at winning. So we've got 4 invitationals a year. Right, this is the 3rd one. We had one in Atlanta. We had one in Somerset. We've got one right now in Indianapolis. Where is the next invitational? So for 6 months of free premium, where is the next StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the invitational?
That's right.
In 2013. It is the final one of the year.
And that's going to be December 13th to 15th. So remember, hashtag SCG Premium. And meanwhile, while you're trying to use Twitter to, you don't have to be quick, just give us the right answer. Get that answer into us. We're going to look at the sideboards.
They might have to be quick. You saw how fast William won that last game. he may just steamroll Cam. You never know. You just have to have your answer in by the end of this match, which is when we will announce the winner.
At least by the end of the round.
By the end of the round, in fact.
Yes.
We will be covering the other match if there is time.
Now, we talked about it earlier, the existence of surgical extraction in Cam Adkins' deck. One of the things that is a fragile element of Sneak and Show, we saw it for a few turns there. William Jensen had Sneak Attack in play, but didn't have a creature.
Yeah, he's got 8 main deck monsters. He's got 4 Emrakul, 4 Gristlebrand, and that's pretty much it as far as his threats go.
That is it. That is the only way he has to win.
Now, he does have 3 copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor in the board that is theoretically a win condition.
That's true. There is the possibility of Jace as the kind of a backdoor win attempt here. But Cam Adkins, if he's able to make William Jensen discard one of his creatures and then surgically extracts it, that would remove half of the traditional win conditions from William Jensen. Now you might wonder, Emrakul though, it gets shuffled back in. Well, it does live in the graveyard for a moment.
Yes, it triggers, so you can respond to that trigger. Once Emrakul hits the graveyard, trigger on the stack, surgical extraction on your Emrakul. Emrakul is not shuffled back in. If that surgical extraction resolves, Emrakul is stripped from Jensen's deck. Yep. And so that's something Cam Adkins will likely be looking to do.
One of the things to look at here, though, the sideboard of William Jensen, 3 Blood Moon. They might not be a finisher, but what they do is they remove all of Cam Adkins' ability to cast spells. He has no basic lands in his deck. Unless he has a Deathrite Shaman in play, a Blood Moon in play would turn off Cam Adkins' access to the color of mana he needs.
Yeah, 0 red spells in Camden's deck.
0 red spells, 0 basic lands. So aside from that, we see Notion Thief in Cam Adkins' sideboard. That's a possibility in a matchup where we see Brainstorms. It's not necessarily a great spell, but it's something to consider. Pernicious Deed is a good way to clear out some Lotus Petals if they happen to be hanging out, or you can pop it for 4 to clear out the sneak attack if that happens. Golgari Charm, interestingly enough, can also kill a sneak attack as well as kill Blood Moon. If the Blood Moon resolves, you can put the mana in your pool in response and then afterwards try to destroy the Blood Moon. Spell Pierce, a great card in this matchup. We already mentioned Surgical Extraction, and Hymn to Torak, also a good card. That is a lot of cards he could bring in potentially.
Yeah, trying to take a look at both sideboards here. What does Huey bring in based on what he expects out of Camden's deck? And he's got a couple of he's got 3 copies of Leyline of Sanctity, particularly good against targeted discard, of which there is in Cam's deck. So Leyline of Sanctity, certainly an option. 2 copies of Through the Breach, which is the one-shot sneak attack effect. It is a little pricey. Usually that's there for the mirror more than these sort of matches. I don't know that he would be bringing that in here, but if he really wants access to that effect more, he could certainly do it. He's got 3 copies of Echoing Truth to bounce troublesome permanents such as Ensnaring Bridge and things like that. No Ensnaring Bridges, though, in Cam's deck. But taking a look around to see if there are any troublesome permanents that he might want to bounce. There's nothing that's backbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that is kind of interesting is if a Notion Thief is in play, Gristlebrand sure looks a lot less exciting.
That's true. That's true. But a 7/7 lifelinker can still get the job done. I mean, we saw that yesterday. I don't know if was it you and me or was it was Ricky and I think. Gristlebrand in play never drew a card, but he stuck around for about 3 turns and just didn't use it. So, you know, a 7/7 flying lifelinker is still a formidable threat. And as we kick things off here for Game 2, Cam Adkins on the play. Polluted Delta into Underground Sea is the first play here from Cam. Down a game versus Huey Jensen here in the semifinals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational. These games or these matches are best of 5. Keep that in mind. So Cam does have some work to do, but he just being 1 game down is not too scary.
Starts off with a Thoughtseize. We see Emrakul, Gristlebrand, Blood Moon, Force of Will, Lotus Petal, and land.
Wow. So it sounds like a report from our other table, Brad Nelson versus BBD, Brian Braunduin, and BBD has taken Game 1 in the Sneak and Show mirror match.
That means at this point, Brian Braunduin has not lost a game in this top 8 so far.
And I did see somebody refer to him on Twitter as a mirror master. So
that's nice.
If that's the case, he's in good shape here. If facing off against Brad, who's playing the same deck, and then if Huey wins, BBD's still in good shape. So Cam trying to decide what to take. Trying to decide what to take with this Thoughtseize. I feel like Blood Moon may be the card, but I guess a case can be made for the. If he's got that surgical extraction, he can do the trick you mentioned and actually take one of the threats and extract it. So that might be something he's considering. I don't see a surgical extraction in his hand though. Didn't get a great look.
Okay, what did he grab? Blood
Moon, okay.
Yeah, he decides, you know what, I don't want to have to deal with that. That is just too much to handle.
Yeah, I mean, that will effectively lock him out of the game if he doesn't have any threats on board when a Blood Moon resolves. He may as well just scoop him up. So a Brainstorm from Cam on his second turn as Huey just plays a Volcanic Island and passes.
Okay, we can see a Deathrite Shaman, a Maelstrom Pulse, a Creeping Tar Pit. A lot of this hand is closed up a little too hard to read the rest of the cards.
Yeah, it looks like an Ancestral Vision there in the back. Maybe another Underground Sea. I see that white border there. It's a Bayou. Yeah, there's an Ancestral Vision. He has to decide what he wants to put back. He's going to go ahead and put the Visions back and the Tar Pit. And
oh, there's the Shardless Agent.
He can play Bayou here and the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, so he's a Shardless Agent in hand. This means he'll be able to turn Shardless Agent to cascade into Ancestral Visions. Ancestral Visions has no casting cost, but when it gets cascaded into, you can cast it.
Absolutely. And that is what Cam is setting up. Now Huey for turn 2 plays a second Volcanic Island and immediately passes. Cam's going to go ahead and draw that Creeping Tar Pit that he placed on top. Plays a Wasteland, Shardless Agent on the stack into Ancestral Vision. So both of these cards now on the stack. Huey says Ancestral Vision resolves. Go ahead and draw your cards. And I would presume if Vision's resolved, Shardless Agent also resolves. I think Huey would be much more inclined to counter the draw 3 than the 2-2.
And we see Deathrite Shaman sits there. There is a fetch land in Cam Adkins' graveyard, so it can produce a color of mana of his choice at will.
He does have Spell Pierce in hand if necessary, so that is a live play for Cam. And a Brainstorm at the end of turn from Huey.
A Brainstorm at end of turn is an indication that Jensen is less interested in sculpting the perfect hand and more interested in getting things done now. He will have to draw one of the cards that he is putting back. He puts 2 back, he'll have to draw one of them. So this is a concession in a sense to how much time he feels is left to make this game end, as opposed to trying to sculpt the perfect hand for a longer game. So maybe he is going to try to push for it now.
So he puts 2 Lotus Petals back and draws 1. He's got a Brainstorm. He's got a Lotus Petal. He's got an Emrakul and a Gristlebrand, I believe. Yes, he still has the Gristlebrand. He has a Force of Will. He does not have a way to get those monsters into play just yet.
Another Brainstorm. He knows the top card, so he's going 2 deeper.
And Cam with the option to Spell Pierce that Brainstorm if he thinks that that's something that will kind of press his advantage here.
And he says, okay, I think Jensen's either trying to represent or actually doesn't have another land. I couldn't tell with his hand before.
I don't think he had another land.
Okay, yeah, so he's pushing for a land there, and he found 2 lands. He found a Ancient Tomb and a City of Traders, both of which were buried a little ways down.
Yeah, 2 soul lands, as they've been referred to, referencing Soul Ring, because they add 2 colorless mana. But yeah, City of Traders and Ancient Tomb, 2 of the lands that make this deck so explosive. So he finishes resolving that Brainstorm. He's going to play the he's going to play a Lotus Petal here. Does that resolve? Cam says okay, and Lotus Petal number 2 comes down. Does that resolve? So Huey could be walking into a Maelstrom Pulse on Lotus Petal here, although I don't know how valuable that is for Cam.
Ancient Tomb.
Ancient Tomb for Huey, and he does not play the 3rd Lotus Petal. He passes back. He did appear to think about playing that 3rd Lotus Petal, and maybe actually thought of the existence of Maelstrom Pulse in his opponent's deck. It is just a 1 of, but he may be counting on that mana from Lotus Petal. Doesn't want to lose it.
One of the things that's different about all of our top 8 competitions, once you get to the elimination rounds, you have access to your opponent's deck list. And before the match and during sideboarding, you can look at their deck list at will. So these players have full information, as opposed to in the Swiss when they have to kind of work with just what they're able to see.
Yeah, Maelstrom Pulse on Lotus Petal not actually as scary as it might seem at first, because sacrifice the Lotus Petal that's targeted, and you still get to keep any additional Lotus Petals in play. But it still could force Huey to use it or lose it.
We see Cam Adkins wastelands that Ancient Tomb, trying to keep Huey from being able to have the kind of mana where he can cast a card like Sneak Attack and have Counterspell backup and be able to activate it.
Yeah, at this point, Huey has access to 4 mana, but we know he has a City of Traders hanging out on top of his library, so that represents 6. So he could potentially play Sneak Attack, resolve it, and activate it in 1 turn. So there's that Maelstrom Pulse.
And he does
on
exactly
a
what
Lotus
he said. He's like, yeah, I'll sacrifice it. That's fine.
So
1 for 1. That for Jensen, that has to actually feel like a real great moment for him. That Maelstrom Pulse did not do very much. He's got a City of Traders on top, so he's still got, in the mix, there's a City of Traders in the mix of his cards. Island in there.
Effectively, Cam sort of, he Stone Rained and he Wastelanded that turn. In a way.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's almost like a Ponza deck here with a 2/2 attacking, and then like...
Right. Yeah, he's got the Deathrite Shaman online. He's attacking with the Shardless Agent, and he Wastelands away an Ancient Tomb, and is able to deal with a Lotus Petal. So he's trying to keep his opponent from actually having so much mana, and he successfully does that. Unfortunately for him, Huey actually has access to even more mana. He's got that City of Traders, as I mentioned. I believe that is still on top of his library. So plenty of mana available to Huey. What he needs is a way to get these monsters into play.
And we just have heard from our director that Brad Nelson has won Game 2, giving the first game loss to Brian Braun to win in this top 8. Now, Brian Braun to win, I believe he actually conceded to Brad Nelson in the Swiss to help bring Brad into this top 8.
Very interesting little dynamic there. Also, Brad and BBD actually played in the top 8 of GP Louisville last week. So that's a little rematch there, and a chance at redemption for Brad.
We have a question from Twitter. Cad Thrasher 28 asks if William Jensen, is he a nice guy? I can't get a read on him by watching the streams. And I've known Jensen now for a very long time, and it's really amazing, when you come into a Magic tournament, people come up to him. He's always willing to talk to anybody, always really nice. I think that he's one of those players that there was a time long ago he was one of the feared players on the Pro Tour. But these days, he's just a really nice guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I just met him, I believe, last year for the first time, and he is a very, very nice guy. He might not seem that way to his opponents, though. It's probably still not a bad idea to fear him when you're playing against him. Or at least fear the potential to play against him. When you're actually in match, you should probably just try to put that out of your mind. But
Creeping Tar Pit joins the party. It's going to be a Shardless Agent and Creeping Tar Pit coming in. You can see the Deathrite Shaman able to make mana, able to do 2 damage or remove 2 life from the opponent. So this is actually a very short clock for William Jensen.
Not only that, Cam has the Surgical Extraction in the hand now, and he just needs a way to get those threats into the graveyard with something like a Thoughtseize, and he could do that. He could strip Huey's hand or Huey's deck of one of his threats. Now the thing is, Huey's got one of each, so that plan doesn't seem as appealing as it otherwise could. But Cam's actually he's in pretty good shape now. He's got an Ancestral Vision ticking down to 2 counters.
Deathrite Shaman not activated there at the end of that turn.
So he missed an opportunity. Creeping Tar Pit and Shardless Agent going to work.
Jensen would be at 2 right now and would have been dead. He forgets to do it again.
Wow.
I mean, maybe what he's doing is trying to prevent, I guess, a Through the Breach, but a Through the Breach when he can't attack doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's interesting. You just forget about the Lavamancer side of Deathrite Shaman.
In they come.
It doesn't matter because Huey has to take the hit from Shardless Agent and Creeping Tar Pit, and Huey unable to put anything together that game. I think he saw all 4 of his Lotus Petals and a couple of his threats, but no show and tell, no sneak attack, and apparently no Through the Breach either, which may or may not be in the deck still. But wow, out of up to 10 cards, Huey unable to find even one of them, even after a couple of brainstorms. So
yeah, now he was given a few extra turns by Cam there. Cam on the left, Cam Adkins from Atlanta. We mentioned this earlier, an invitational qualifier winner, and so many paths here. William Jensen certainly had many, many ways in which he was already qualified for this invitational event, and not to mention just having won an Open Series event. And one of the things that's been really neat watching Jensen reintroduce himself to the game of Magic, he is one of those players, a classic all-time best of the game player, a reason that he's in the Hall of Fame. But 2 of the people that you see him with all the time now on the Pro Tour, they are not from that old school time. No, he spends a lot of time on the Pro Tour with Owen Turtenwald and Reed Duke. You can usually see those 3 hanging out at every event.
Often playing the same deck.
Yeah.
I think if you're in an event and all 3 of them are there and you happen to play against one of them, I think you can pretty much count on the fact, or at least be aware of the fact that it's likely that the other 2 are also playing that deck. And if you are faced up against one of them, you can kind of plan accordingly. In this event, I believe all 3, in Standard, I believe all 3 were on Esper. They definitely, at GP Louisville, all 3 were on Esper control for Standard.
William Jensen here. I'm not sure what Reed and Owen were playing in Standard, but William Jensen on basically with a couple of small variations, the same list as the SCG players that we've been seeing a lot. Brad Nelson, Brian Braun-Dwin, Jerry Thompson, all of those players all playing Sneak and Show as well. And they've only lost so far to each other. Brian Braun-Duin defeating Jerry Thompson. And right now, the other bracket, that is Brian Braun-Duin versus Brad Nelson. You're watching Cam Adkins versus William Huey Jensen.
Yeah, I think Reed was on Elves for Legacy. Not sure
that's
what
right,
Owen was
he
on,
was.
but Reed was on Elves and Huey obviously on Sneak and Show. I can't remember for sure, but I think Reed was also on Esper. Actually, I'm pretty confident now. Reed was on Esper for Standard. He wrote about it this week on Star City, and I'm pretty sure we had him on camera playing Esper as well. So Esper, pretty popular deck this weekend at the Invitational and in the Open Series. Ended up taking it down earlier this morning. Harry Corvasi with Esper Control defeating an Esper Control deck in the finals.
Well, this has been a long weekend. Already we've had 31 rounds of Magic, plus however many Legacy Open rounds. I'm guessing we're at least in round 4. So that's around 35 rounds of Magic between the Invitational, the Standard Open, and the Legacy Open. And there's going to be more yet.
Yeah, that's a lot of Magic. And these players evaluating their opening hands here. Neither of them look perfectly happy. Huey, in fact, is going to go ahead and mulligan this. Cam looks like he's still deciding, but I think he's going to keep. We'll find out for you for sure. If you're just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Adrian Sullivan, coming to you guys live from Indianapolis, where the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational is underway. In fact, the top 8 is underway. In fact, the top 4 is underway. The semifinals happening right now. All tied up here in this match between Huey Jensen and Cam Adkins. Cam Adkins on Shardless Bug just took a game from Huey, game 2, after Huey used a sneak attack Gristlebrand to end game 1 after a sneak attack Emrakul annihilated Cam's board. And Cam finally decides to keep his 7.
You can see just in the background there, Brad Nelson off to the left of William Jensen.
See his arm.
Yeah. A little bit ago, he was looking at William Jensen's hand, just checking in, seeing whether William Jensen was going to mulligan or not.
What's happening over there? So, yeah. Now I'm bored of my match. What's happening in the other match?
You know, that is actually one of my weaknesses as a player, is that sometimes I start paying attention to the matches around me. I like to watch Magic so much, I need to watch my own games.
Preordain is the first play from Huey, and it resolves. He's kept his 6 cards, and he's going to bottom both. Draw a Force of Will off the top. His hand appears to be Emrakul, Force of Will, and Ponder, I believe, is the 5th card there. Cam Adkins now. Turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
It's a good start. One of the best Bird of Paradise style cards of all time.
Ponder was that other card, and I believe we saw Brainstorm drawn for this turn. Huey's going to go ahead and cast a Ponder. Find Spell Pierce, Gristlebrand, and Daze. Does he want any of that? He is short on mana sources. He has 1 land in play, and that's it. So he's going to go ahead and shuffle this away, hoping to find a land on top. Or at least some source of mana.
Cam Adkins with a Shardless Agent, and it looks like a Golgari Charm in hand. The Ponder's still being resolved. Remember, there's going to be a card draw coming still.
And Huey finds a land. It's an Ancient Tomb.
It's a good one.
Doesn't produce blue, so we can't play it and then Brainstorm here, but it's a land. Passes back to Cam. Does Cam have a Wasteland? Does not appear to be the case. He does have 2 copies of Liliana of the Veil in hand, if I saw correctly. Brainstorm from Cam here on his main phase.
He's looking for a fetch land.
Looks like he's got quite a few fetch lands.
There we go. Misty Rainforest can shuffle things away.
He's got an Ancestral Vision. Does he have a Shardless Agent in hand? If he's got the Shardless Agent, he can do the same thing he did last game. And and cascade into the Ancestral Visions. That looks like how he set things up, although he's changing things around a little bit. I don't know if he's got the Shardless Agent. I haven't had a good enough look at
There's a Shardless Agent.
There is a Shardless Agent? Okay,
yes.
So he could definitely set things up here to go Shardless Agent into Ancestral Vision. Now I'm trying to see, actually, if he has... He has to play a fetch land so that he can get mana off of the Deathrite Shaman.
And this is a hard decision here for Cam. One of the things that is a real issue is that if he taps down his mana, what ends up happening with Huey having that 3 mana right now, potentially 4 mana, plus even more if Lotus Petals are involved, Cam might only be able to cast one Spell Pierce style card to be able to resist whatever Huey might throw at him. So he's being a little cautious here. We see the fetch land. And he passes the turn.
So I believe he's setting up for that Shardless Agent into Vision.
He does have the Agent in hand and a Vision in hand, so see a Golgari Charm in hand as well. Main phase Brainstorm from William Jensen.
Jensen finds Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, Ponder. And now he's got some threats, and he's got a Show and Tell, and I believe he's also got a Sneak Attack, and he's got 2 Force of Will in hand. Or available. He does have to put 2 cards back.
No. Yes.
Brainstorm's not that unfair.
It's a pretty good card, but Ancestral Recall, that takes a little bit bigger of a format than Legacy.
Yeah.
You have to go all the way up to Vintage for that. Type 1 for the old school players.
So Huey's trying to decide what he wants to put back, but he's in reasonable shape to have to assemble the combo and protect it based on the cards available to him now. He's got 2 Force of Will, he's got a Ponder and a Show and Tell, so I think he put at least a single Emrakul on top. I believe he had access to 2 of them, and I'm thinking he put both on top, in fact.
Yeah, we see Cam Adkins shuffling away. He does have an Ancestral Vision in his hand, so he did not set up the Shardless Agent to be able to interact with the Ancestral Vision like that. Instead, he wanted just to shuffle away some cards. He didn't like those ones. I'm going to see if he's going to do anything else at the end of the turn.
Yeah, that actually wasn't going to work the way I was thinking. I was picturing that there was a fetch land already in the graveyard, but it wasn't actually there yet. And if he had to crack the fetch land to cast the Shardless Agent, the Ancestral Vision's not there anyway.
We see
put it there.
We see an activation of the Deathrite Shaman now, and that does 2 damage to William Jensen.
So did not miss the opportunity there. And now Cam with access to 3 mana, up to 4, and he's going to go ahead and use the Deathrite Shaman for a mana, and he's going to cast Shardless Agent. He leaves open an Underground Sea.
Cascade trigger on the stack.
All right, Cascade. Cascades into land, Tarmogoyf.
That just made the clock really big. Now Tarmogoyf, do you want to stop that, William Jensen?
So Tarmogoyf currently on the stack alongside a Shardless Agent. I think Huey's more interested in protecting his combo than his life total at this point, because knowing that he actually does have the combo.
Yeah, that Tarmogoyf is only a 2/3 right now. That can change very rapidly, however.
All right, so Huey draws Emrakul for the turn. His hand is Lotus Petal, Ponder, Force of Will, Sneak Attack, Show and Tell, Emrakul. He can cast Show and Tell. He can use Force of Will, removing Force, or Force of Will, removing Ponder to counter something for free. He could also play Lotus Petal and cast the Sneak Attack, but not activate it this turn.
I like Show and Tell, put Sneak Attack into play, crack the Lotus Petal, and annihilate Cam Adkins' side of the board.
I like that. I like that line. Let's see if that's what Huey goes with.
God, annihilate is such a great mechanic.
The keyword is perfect, right? Because you just want to say, wow, he just got annihilated.
Yeah, you know, if you said decimate, then there would be a lot of people that would say that wasn't 1/10 of the cards.
All right.
Ponder.
He's going to cast the Ponder. So Huey on a different line of play than us, although he still actually has the Lotus Petal there. He still could go show and tell, but he'd need to find a land. He does not find a land there off of that Ponder.
Now, one of the things that Huey does by making that play, he's not actually threatened with death yet, so he's trying to be a little bit protective before he goes for basically not quite an all-in, but pretty close. Remember, Cam Adkins' deck does have counter magic, including Force of Will.
Yeah, so Huey playing a little conservatively in the face of a 2-3 and a 2-2.
I mean, he's got
and a
time.
1-2. Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't. I don't mean conservatively in the sense that he's playing too slow. I mean he doesn't need to play aggressively here because he's not facing down any significant threats, as you kind of mentioned. So a show and tell is the card drawn off of the Ponder.
Welcome to round 5.
And Ponder finishes resolving.
That's a good hand, though.
Yeah, the scary thing. Yeah, so the scary thing about using. He casts the show and tell. I mean, sorry, he casts the Lotus Petal, does not cast show and tell, passes the turn. Scary thing about going sneak attack into Emrakul is Emrakul will hit the graveyard, and if a surgical extraction was available, then Cam could extract the Emrakuls. But Cam finds Wasteland, which is going to do some work, take out the Ancient Tomb.
That was a really big deal.
Yeah, it was.
Grows the Tarmogoyf.
So Tarmogoyf a little bigger. It's going to crash in here for 5. Pass the turn with Deathrite Shaman available and 3 lands untapped. You can see Cam does have Golgari Charm. He's got Ancestral Vision. He's got Liliana of the Veil.
There's a land. It looked like a Misty Rainforest.
And Huey is going to pause the match momentarily. I don't know if this is a judge question or something else, but Huey going to take a quick break.
It appears he's speaking with the judge right now.
Okay.
And stepped away from the table. He wanted to ask a question. And I wonder if it's about, because we've got a lot of old cards in his hand, I wonder if it's about show and tell, you know, because show and tell does not put, for example, I believe, Planeswalkers into play.
Right. It specifically names certain permanents, and Planeswalkers did not exist then, so Planeswalkers not an option off of a show and tell.
Now, that's a possibility. There are other possibilities as well. I mean, this is a very complicated game, the game of Magic the Gathering, so who knows what Huey's asking about. Huey is a very experienced player. He's been playing for a long time, and so I'm certain that whatever the clarification he needed, it's probably something that, here we go, 1, 2, 3, show and tell. Does that work? You can see choose an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land.
Oh.
And Cam is like, I got one.
Yeah, and he chose Planeswalker, which is actually not going to work.
And that's another thing. I mean, maybe Huey said, what if he chooses a card that he can't
name?
And
Cam is now reading the card. So, yeah, now this is the question, is the fact that Cam actually put a card down indicating that it resolved, and then, yeah, he's switching it, so it's resolving anyway. But I wondered if he could actually back up and be like, oh, well, no, I can't put a Planeswalker into play. Can I counter that? So, Creeping Tar Pit is what Cam puts into play.
Now, Liliana in hand?
Yes, Liliana in hand is still going to, it's gonna matter here.
We're going to have a big fight on this Liliana, that's for sure.
As long as Cam has the cards to fight with. Because he can cast a Liliana, but does he have any counter spells? I see Ancestral Vision, I see Brainstorm, I don't see any other blue cards in hand. So Liliana of the Veil is on the stack now from Cam Atkins after Show and Tell from Huey Jensen resolves. getting him an Emrakul. And here we see Force of Will from Huey.
Brainstorming response. Looking
No.
for something. Nothing.
Nothing
It's
there.
not there.
Huey does still have a Force of Will, but his other card is a Sneak Attack, so he cannot Force of Will back. Not going to be relevant, it looks like, but just something to keep in mind. So Cam has to put a couple cards back, keeping Huey in suspense as to whether or not he found a counterspell or a way to force that Liliana into play. And Liliana to the graveyard. Force of Will resolves. Huey also loses a life off of that, but I think he's okay, considering he doesn't lose his Eldrazi.
Yep, and Cam Adkins reads the card.
Yeah.
God, what are all the things that does?
What does that one say? Jeez.
There's a lot of abilities on it. If you count it, there's actually 15 abilities.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think I did hear about that, because it's a 15-15. And, yeah, maybe we'll break that down for you.
You have to cheat in order to get to that 15 ability count.
Yeah.
Annihilator 6, that's 6 Annihilators.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
Protection from all colors, etc.
That's 5, right? Up to 11,
There
right?
you go.
So it can't be countered as 1. Take an extra turn, 2. Flying is 3. Protection from colored spells, that's 8, right?
Yep.
Plus the 6 is 14. And when he's put into a graveyard,
15.
15, there you go.
Boom.
And speaking of 6 of those abilities, or actually, I'm sorry, 7 of those abilities happening right now being the Flying and the Annihilator trigger.
And we see a land fetched out by Cam Adkins. Looks like he's going to get one last little ding with his Deathrite Shaman. And I bet you he's going to have his Tarmogoyf be the sole survivor of this annihilation.
Yeah, Annihilator 6 is going to... Actually, Annihilator 6 is going to leave him with 2 guys.
Well, that's a good point. He does have that extra land. The land that he put into play with the show and tell.
All right, so I believe at this point we're at Annihilator trigger on the stack. He does ping with the Deathrite Shaman. Cam trying to figure out what his best plan is, because while he is being annihilated right now by an Eldrazi, he's got his opponent to 9, and he's got he's got a Tarmogoyf on board. He's got a Deathrite Shaman and a 2/2 Shardless Agent. So he's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, it's just 5.
So many permanents.
Yeah.
6 is a lot of permanents.
Yeah, I think the Deathrite Shaman is correct, but it's counting on the fact that he's going to be able to find a land to be able to activate that ability. And he does have a fetch land in hand, so I like the keep of the Deathrite Shaman. Tarmogoyf and Deathrite are the lone remaining permanents on Cam Atkins' side of the board. Huey Jensen with 2 Volcanic Islands and an Emrakul. Oh yeah, don't forget about that one.
That's a big one. We have sorcery, instant, artifact. We have a land. We have planeswalker. Creature. We have creature in the yard. That makes Tarmogoyf a 6.
Wow. Is Cam Atkins 1 damage short?
That looks to me like 1 damage shy. Now, the question is, did Cam Atkins, was there a moment in this game where he didn't get 1 damage in? The Golgari Charm won't help him make the kill.
Yeah, I was trying to see, does that have a mode that would mess things up a little bit somehow or do anything? No, it's just he can shrink Emrakul to a 14-14. Doesn't really do much. But Huey able to put something together there and take game 3 from Cam Atkins. Huey leads 2-1 here in the semifinals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational. Live from Indianapolis, I'm Joey Pasco, joined by Adrian Sullivan in the booth. We are SCG Live. You can tune in every Open Series and Invitational weekend and catch live coverage of Magic the Gathering all weekend long. We've got Standard on Saturday. We finish up the Standard semis and finals on Sunday mornings, and then continue on with the coverage of Legacy on Sunday.
Yeah, so we have one note on Twitter. I don't remember if this is the case or not, unfortunately, but one of our spectators is saying that Cam did miss a Deathrite ping earlier in the match.
Wow. I mean, we did see him miss them earlier in the match, but in that game.
Oh, in the game.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have to go back and look for sure, but yeah, that would be kind of heartbreaking, I'm sure. What a dagger.
Yeah, I mean, and we have another person saying the same thing, that yes,
Okay.
Cam did miss one ping, and he had Jensen down to 1 life there at the end of that game.
Or at least I think he was about to before he scooped.
Effectively 1 life.
He would have been able to get him to 1. So, yeah, and if you guys want to join in the discussion on Twitter, you can always tweet at SCG Live during the events. We try to keep up as much as possible. We're trying to mostly focus on the match in front of us, but we do from time to time check up on Twitter and interact with you guys. At SCG Live is the Twitter account. Hashtag SCGINVI is the hashtag for this particular weekend and this particular event. Every event gets its own hashtag, and you can tag your thoughts about the event with the hashtag, and we will be taking a look at that as well. Another way to get involved.
Thank you to Garrett Jacks and Cloud Scraper for those notes on the previous game. Cam Adkins, Shardless Bug on the left. William Jensen, Sneak and Show on the right. These two players had a long weekend of Magic. Cam Adkins now, he's the number 3 seed. In order to get here, he defeated Michael Burnett. This Atlanta player, Cam, facing off against a mainstay of Chicago Magic, who, if you've been playing since, I believe, around 99 or 98, you'll probably have played against Michael Burnett at some point. William Jensen on the right, the recently inducted Hall of Famer, and he had a pretty solid Hall of Fame class coming in with Lou Scott Vargas, LSV, and Ben Stark this last year.
Yeah, always interesting to see the makeup of the Hall of Fame classes every year. I get excited every year to kind of see what's going to happen, who's going to make it in. One player that I voted for this year that did not make it in, Chris Pikula, Meddling Mage, was hoping he would get in.
You can see one of the things I do wish. Chris Pikula, obviously, the Meddling Mage, the original art Meddling Mage. I really hope that if they ever print Meddling Mage again, that they make sure to put Chris Pikula's likeness on it. I think that that's an honor that should be continued to be reserved for the Magic Invitational winners. Now look at this, opening the game, William Jensen, a turn 0, as it were, Leyline of Sanctity. This is a good way to say no, 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 Thoughtseize.
That's right, that will protect Huey's hand from discard spells like Thoughtseize, and that's about the best way to play. I mean, that is the best way to play a Leyline. Turn 0. You can actually begin the game with it on the battlefield. In fact, it kind of feels bad to have to pay 4 mana for that. Obviously, Huey, very unlikely to be able to cast that unless he's got some Lotus Petals. But he gets it this time because it is in his opening hand. And a Brainstorm being resolved here for Cam Adkins on turn 2.
This has got to be a very precarious feeling if you're Cam Adkins. Your opponent starting the game out up 2 games to 1 against you and immune to a whole portion of how you interact with their deck.
Volcanic Island fetched up from Huey's Misty Rainforest there. He's got a Gristlebrand in hand. He's got an Ancient Tomb. In fact, he's got a pair of Ancient Tombs. He's going for Blood Moon.
Oh my god.
If this Blood Moon resolves, it's backbreaking, and I think that means Huey's on to the finals.
That is it.
Blood Moon, non-basic lands or mountains. That means Cam's entire mana base produces only red mana.
I think that's it. I think Huey just went beatdown with enchantments.
And Cam, unable to float that green-black. He could have if he hadn't brainstormed, but if he could have floated green-black there, let it resolve, and then cast the Golgari Charm, as you suggested earlier in this match. That was a possibility, but he didn't have it there. So yeah, Cam, I think he's just trying to figure out, is there anything I can do with all red mana sources?
I'm looking at his list. There is nothing he can do. That is it.
Wow. Wow, I mean, and that's the power of Blood Moon, and we did mention it. 3 copies of Blood Moon in the sideboard for Huey Jensen, and Blood Moon, it is just backbreaking.
One of the things, Blood Moon and Price of Progress, these were 2 cards back in the day that were kind of, they were the rare hosers. Play fair, buddy.
It sounds like some excitement in our other match as well. Going to Game 5, Brad Nelson versus Brian Braunduin. And, wow, a Game 5 forced. And we'll be taking you guys over there as long as it's still happening when this match ends. We'll bring you guys coverage of that. So it's crazy. So you're asking yourself, okay, well then how does Huey win, right? Well, all those lands are mountains, and Sneak Attack only needs mountains. Oh, but Huey says, I'll just cast another Blood Moon.
Just in case.
So we're going back and forth with just draw land go for the most part. Huey just waiting to draw into a Sneak Attack, pretty much. I mean, that's about his only route to victory, but it is a sure thing when Cam Adkins can do nothing else. Through the Breach would also work.
Well, I mean, also he can hard cast Emrakul.
Sure, you're right. I'm sorry. He can hard cast Emrakul if he does not find a Sneak Attack before he has access to 15 mana. Yeah, if you're just joining us, all of those lands are mountains. That's what Blood Moon says. Hymn to Torok discarded there from Cam.
Pass, 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 pass.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at the lists. Adrian and I don't see any way for Cam to win this game unless...
There is a way. There's a way. I've come up with one.
Okay.
Cam could try to Force of Will the threat card and then Surgical Extraction in order to deck William.
All right. I like this. I like this plan. This is interesting. So let's see what happens. So Huey, of course, discarding Spell Pierces because he can't cast them for free and he can't cast them off of mountains. Huey's trying to make a case for Cam to scoop, I think. At least that's what I'm getting just from the hand motions, obviously.
And Cam's like, I got stuff.
That's right.
I got stuff.
All right, here comes a Sneak Attack. If Cam says that resolves.
Hey, all right, here's the team. Boom!
Attack. But yeah.
I don't know why you wanted to play that one out. I'd like to get some rest between rounds here.
Wow, so Huey Jensen on the back of Blood Moon there takes the 3rd game of the match for himself. It's actually the 4th game of the match, but his 3rd win of the match, and that will do it, putting Huey Jensen into the